Hi, the following is my first experience with a scammer back in 2008. I had just gotten out of a 4-year relationship, which I needed to pull the plug on. Relationship over, my friend told me about a free dating site called Plenty of Fish. I was a bit curious, so I thought I would give it a try. Talked to some men, met up with two, but nothing materialized, especially because one was mentally ill and it made our first date very depressing. So I thought I'd keep trying. Before Christmas 2007, I got a response. His name was Morris Brooks. He was very attractive in his picture. He greeted me as beauty and said I was worth getting to know. I was flattered that someone that attractive would be interested in me. I'm slightly overweight, average-looking woman who doesn't dress flashy. When I told him that, he told me that beauty was in the eye of the beholder. So we started chatting on Yahoo Messenger. He stated he was from New York City and had a place in Long Island, county in New York. When I asked him where in Long Island, he became a little defensive. He told me I was getting intrusive as we had just met. I apologized and we proceeded in conversation. I told him about myself. I was 32 at the time, a social worker, single, living just outside of New York. He expressed knowing my city and mentioned a well-known shopping center and casino. I believed he was legit. Morris immediately told me he felt a connection and would close out his account. He found the one. I thought this was strange. We had just met. How can he feel such a strong connection? He told me that he knew based on my picture and how I presented myself. I told him I felt a bit uncomfortable, as I just ended a 4-year relationship. Morris told me not to worry. We'd take time to get to know each other. He told me he was a chemical engineer and spent time between New York City and his home in Long Island. We talked a bit more over the next few days, and he went on about how rich he was. He owned a Lamborghini Diablo. I've only seen that car twice in my life. And he was thinking about getting a Hummer. He had a nice house and a penthouse apartment on Fifth Avenue overlooking Central Park. He told me he was born to an American father and an English mother. His parents were divorced, so he spent time back and forth and would be going to England for Christmas and would be doing charity work by going to various hospitals giving toys to sick children. I was impressed by this. I thought he was sweet. He also had never married, no kids, or dead wife, and his English was good. We talked daily, almost every night. At the time, I had a second job. Morris hated that I was working too hard. He told me that one day he'll take care of me. I would never have to work again. I told him I wanted to work. I liked my job. He then insisted that he'd take care of me, fly me on first-class flights to exotic locations, buy us a nice home, buy me anything I wanted. I just thought this was strange, as we hadn't met. He told me soon enough, after he came home from England, he'd make everything happen. He messaged me saying he'd be back after the new year, 2008. I looked forward to our nightly chats on Yahoo Messenger. We just talked about anything and everything. Then one night it happened. Morris and I were chatting late at night, and he asked me for a favor, and I was a little skeptical. I thought he was going to ask me to pick him up from the airport, and I didn't feel comfortable with this as I'd never met him. And I asked him what the favor was. It wasn't to pick him up. He told me he had a problem with buying the airline ticket back to New York. I thought he wanted me to buy it for him, but I didn't feel comfortable, and I was in financial strains. Hence, I was working a second job. Morris told me he'd wire the money into my bank account to buy the ticket, and that he'd send me some extra money so I can spend for myself. I was taken aback. No way did I feel comfortable with this. My own parents didn't have my banking information. I wasn't giving it to a total stranger. I told him to use his credit card, to which he said it wasn't working. I asked him which credit card he used, to which he said American Express. I pointed out that Amex works everywhere worldwide. He said it wasn't working. I denied his request. I told him point blank that I hardly knew him, haven't met him in person, so I didn't feel comfortable. Morris expressed feeling disappointed. and hoped that we could develop some sort of trust. I told him that trust doesn't start at someone's bank account, and after that I didn't hear from Morris. I was disappointed that he couldn't respect my decision, but I realized it was for the best. I wasn't going to allow a total stranger to rob me and clean me out of my bank account. A few months later, I met someone on Plenty of Fish, and when we met in person, we shared our horror stories of online dating. I dated this guy for a few months, but long distance didn't work out in our case. I told him about Morris, and he told me that the guy in the picture was definitely not the person I thought he was. He told me that the picture was stolen and probably used by someone in popular scamming countries. He explained the scammer situation and told me that Morris was planning to clean my account out. I was horrified that something like this can happen. Since then, I've been cautious about who I meet online. I always send fake profiles to Will and Ann. I'm so grateful I found Scamming Scammers Action. I've also saved a young coworker from falling prey to a scammer. While I was lucky and didn't get scammed, sadly there are people who do. I hope that by you listening to my story, you see the red flags and know what to look out for. I hope this story will help someone. People really aren't who they appear to be at times. Stay safe. And we'd like to thank this lady for sharing her story. And this goes to show you that this story goes back to 2007, 2008, and scammers are still doing today what they did way back when. If you have a story you'd like to share, an encounter with a scammer, whether you lost money or not, and no matter when it happened, you can inbox us on the Facebook page Scamming Scammers Action, or you can email me, scammingscammers@gmail.com. Give us a little bit of time to verify your story. We can narrate it into a video, and your story might help others. Thanks for listening, and until next time.